Welcome, everybody, to our SBDC interview series. I'm Leanne Presley. I'm your host and also a consultant with the Small Business Development Center here in Salida, Colorado. Today, I am interviewing Joe Smith. He is the Vice President of Commercial Loans at High Country Bank here in Salida, Colorado. Welcome to our interview series, Joe Smith.
Thank you for having me.
So Joe, the purpose of our interview program here is to chat with bankers about their experience with the PPP loan program, the Paycheck Protection Program. Tell our listeners a little bit about you, your role at the bank, and then also share with us what the total amount of the loan help was for High Country Bank and about how many people were you able to support?
So my role here at the bank is to oversee all the commercial and small business lending of the bank. That's serving Canyon City, Una Vista, Salida, so kind of Chaffee and Fremont County. And then obviously there's been news that we are expanding into Longmont, so I'll have that role as well. But that's kind of the current job that I have, overseeing about 5 or 6 different lenders serving these communities. As far as the PPP program, I believe we did roughly 350, 360 loans, somewhere in that amount for just under $15 million. And that was, again, primarily Chaffee County, but we also did make a little bit of an impact into Fremont County as well with some of their businesses.
Wow, that's amazing. So many ways to support business owners, and we appreciate all of that community support. I know from what I heard, bankers were working 40, 50, 60 hours a week trying to scramble and get those applications in under the deadline and so on. So appreciate that. Tell me, what kind of challenges did you guys have beyond, of course, the long hours? Were there other challenges that you guys faced in trying to fulfill all those loan applications? What were some of the bigger challenges you had?
You know, I think it was a lot of hurry up and wait. There'd be, here's how you're going to do it. We'll tell you again how you can do it or when we're going to let you do it. So we had a lot of that. And then, of course, just with every institution seeming in the nation trying to get onto the system portals and everything, we had a lot of crashes. And some of the late nights and long days were mainly due to just computer crashes happening throughout the entire process. But, you know, it was rewarding, but yeah, it was definitely a lot of work. And the other aspect was just, fortunately, we were an SBA lender ahead of time. We had to gain access and all that good stuff, but we didn't have to go through the process to become an SBA lender. But we did not have access to the portal for more than, you know, just myself for the first week. We added a second person the second week, fortunately. And then until round 2, we weren't able to get anybody else into the system. So there was a little bit of a bottleneck because you could only enter information so quickly when it's just 1 or 2 people.
Right. And we're recording this the end of the first week of June. Are you still doing PPP loan applications right now? Are there still funds available for business owners that might be interested?
Yes, I actually just got one delivered not too long ago. We closed a couple more yesterday, and then I believe we have another one scheduled for Monday. So we're pretty much through all of our applications. I don't know if that's the case for the rest of the banks, but right now we're pretty much finished up, maybe trickle 1 or 2 a week in. And I know the program is supposed to end on June 30th. I don't believe they'll run out of funds. The last I saw, there was about 100 billion. So we should be okay on that front.
Yeah. Right. So I imagine with about $15 million coming into Chaffee County through businesses, of course, that helped support employees, keeping them off of unemployment and so on. What kinds of other impacts do you foresee for Chaffee County and our community as a result of the PPP program?
You know, I think the biggest thing is going to be obviously that these businesses should be able to withstand the first end of this storm. There's a lot of uncertainty coming, obviously, but hopefully this money is going to allow them to make it through, getting into probably a seasonally, summer will be a little bit less busy, but I don't think it's going to be dead around here. We're already seeing that kind of on the other end of things here at the bank with the residential stuff is just out of the, it's crazy. Rates are low enough and purchase activities coming again. So I think that the growth in the area is going to kind of continue and actually could increase just with people wanting to get out of the metro areas even more now. But I think this money will help people kind of work their way through. It was a slower time of the year traditionally, but the biggest challenge is going to be how busy will summer be. And, you know, most people around here still have that. We build up reserves in the summer to make it through winter. So will there be a sufficient reserves to make it through winter, or what challenges are going to come ahead? And then obviously if there's more health concerns in the fall, what challenges are going to lie ahead for everybody?
Right. There's just so many unknowns. And you're absolutely right. People coming in and out through tourism makes it such that, you know, you've got to make hay when the sun shines in the summer, and then that money's got to last through the winter. So you're right. We'll have to see how that all pans out. So Joe, I'm sure that maybe you came out of 350 applications, maybe you came across somebody or a story that you felt like was particularly compelling for you and maybe touched you in a personal way. Can you share one of those stories with us?
Certainly. So there were a handful. You know, at the very beginning, we were all wondering how quickly the money was going to run out, and knowing we're in a mountain time zone and there's a lot of people in the Eastern time zone, there was a lot of even just concern of how quickly is it going to go. And just, I had a lot of weekend conversations with a few restaurant owners in particular that were just weren't sure what to do, didn't want to lay off their staff, wanted to try to keep them going as long as they could. And I remember there was a Sunday phone call where it was just, hey, I just want to let you know, I actually got into the system and I got you in. You're good to go. We'll get you money next couple of weeks once we get a little better idea, but at least you're allocated money. And just like the sense of relief that you could just hear it over the phone, and everything was just great. And there was a handful of those, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that got to hear those throughout the bank. So
Right.
yeah, great feeling.
Yeah, for sure. That makes up for some of the long hours and all the toil and hard work that you bankers have put in to see that through. When you get that one customer that's just so grateful, it can make all the difference, I bet. So yeah, again, thank you for doing all that. So Joe, I'm wondering if you can share with some of our listeners, our watchers, about some of the recent changes that we're seeing with PPP. There's been some legislation this week, end of the first week of June here. I imagine there's going to be a lot more questions of what does it mean now? What do you think is going to be some of the most, some of the questions that are going to come in about the new flexible payment plan on the PPP?
You know, I think the most upsetting thing about it being this late in the process is many people are at their 8-week period. So, you know, hopefully they weren't expending all of that money for just to expend it, get it forgiven for no use. So sadly, it's like the first people that got it were grateful to get it, and the second ones were a little concerned, but the second group might benefit the most because they have more time to spend it and everything else. But I think the biggest questions that'll come in is, you know, what kind of adjustments are they? I don't think this is the end of it. I think there will be more modifications, not necessarily to the time frame or the amounts, but mainly the forgiveness aspect. I believe it's been a little over a week now that they processed or put out the forgiveness application, which was very much more detailed than it seemed to be at the beginning, especially for many of the small businesses in these communities. You know, maybe that makes sense for the over $2 million loans, but not for the, you know, average balance of 50,000, which is roughly what we had. So that's going to be the biggest. But, you know, the 24-month period, and then the thing that nobody's addressed, but everybody was deferred for 6 months with the intention that they would get it forgiven and be gone. But that deferral period kind of lands on the 6-month time frame now. I believe they changed the loan date from a 2-year loan to a 5-year loan. So I'm not thrilled, but I think we have about 355 loans to modify now, or we're going to wait for forgiveness and modify them later. Who knows how that's going to work, but you know, it'll be another lengthy process once we start working through that. But I know that the bill has been signed. Obviously they'll kind of interpret that. We'll get some best practice thoughts, and then again we may have changes again that come. But you know, I think the best thing is for people to look at the application, even though it may change, and start familiarizing yourself with it and getting that information together. It may be, at the end of the day, it may not be needed, but at least you're prepared. And then, yeah, again, the drop from 75% payroll to 60% is probably the biggest benefactor for many people outside of the extended period from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. So.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's going to help a lot of businesses that were struggling to meet that 75-25 ratio. So the change to 60-40, I think, is going to be welcome for a lot of business owners. And Joe, I know that High Country Bank does so much for the community in Chaffee County and Salida specifically. Do you want to share some of that with us? What are some of the ways that High Country Bank supports our community?
So we've always done high school scholarships for all communities. We're actively involved with most of our staff. You know, one of the first things when I get a new staff member is just, okay, go find that civic organization that you're interested in and join and be involved and active in the community. So we have people on the chamber, we have people on school board, the economic development, Rotary, all of those types of organizations to be involved and be in the community, because that is such a critical role of community banking. And then, you know, we're always actively giving lots of donations and things of that nature. You know, I think the kids pull on the heartstrings a little more, so we try to focus on that. But anybody that comes in the door, we're definitely willing to listen to them and try to help them in making the community events happen, because we know those are fundraising efforts mainly. So, you know, I have to look back, but I feel like we're around a total budget of around $100,000 to $150,000 a year in kind of donations, community support, and things of that nature. So outside of just the everyday helping small businesses, homeowners, all of those different things, you know, those are the other ways that we've been involved for probably 130 so years. So.
Right, right. And tell our viewers about your branches. You have one in Salida, one in BV. You mentioned the one in Longmont. If somebody's interested in becoming a bank customer, how would they go about doing that, and how do they find you?
So we are located in Canyon City. We have 2 locations in Salida, one downtown is more transactional based, and then the one on the highway is our main office, and then as well in Buena Vista. Obviously, we're trying to limit the interactions as much as we can. So, but people can call in. You can go to our website, highcountrybank.net, and you can apply for a loan. You can reach out and just, it's kind of a soft application, and we would be able to reach out to you and get all the information necessary to open an account, get a loan process going for you, and things of that nature. And then you can always just give us a call, 539-2516, and we can direct you from there to the right location, right person. And you know, a lot of us have been around long enough that even if you start talking to us about the wrong thing, we'll answer your questions and then direct you to the expert to get you across the finish line, so to speak.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you, Joe Smith, Vice President of Commercial Loans at High Country Bank in Salida. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.